Welcome to Pine Hollow Quilts Sampler Sew Along. This is month 2 and we will be sewing the loop block. As you can see in the picture, that's the block that we're going to make right now. So let me pull this one out and let's get our supplies ready. The first thing you're going to need to do is cut 6 2.5-inch squares of color 1, 6 2.5-inch squares of color 2, 10 2.5-inch squares of a background. I have chosen black. And then 16 2.5-inch squares of either a third color or the background, whichever you prefer. And the block that you saw here when the video started did have black as the border that is going to be the 16 on mine, but I'm also going to show you what it's going to look like with the colored border. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take one of your one color and one of your other color, and let's move these out of the way. And then you're going to need 2 of your black, or your background, excuse me, 2 of your background, and you're going to make 2 half square triangles. Remember to draw the line on the back, corner to corner, and then you're going to stitch just off of that line. If you need a refresher for your half square triangles, video 1 with the heart is going to be the one to go back to get a refresher if you need more than what I've just described here. So here we have our 2 half square triangles. Now we're actually going to start the block layout. And we're going to put the half square triangles nose to nose with the colors, just like that. Then we're going to take the squares that we cut, and I'll start with the pink first, and we're going to add 2 down here, and then we're going to add 2 blue up here, and these are going to be the ribbons for our loop. Okay, these are the long ribbons. 1 out this way for the short ribbon. And whoop, did that wrong. 1 out this way for the short ribbon, and 1 out this way for this short ribbon. So what you have is you have your ribbon coming down kind of like across here, and it's going over under this one, and the same thing, this one's going up and it's going to turn the corner and it's going under that one to keep going. So this is going to have an over under type of weaving feel to it. The next thing we want our black or your background, whichever you choose, again, background squares, and you're just going to fill them in. You have 10 of these, and you're just going to make this a 4x4 square with your background added in. Now later, once we get through this part of it, you might want to mark this in your mind as to come back to this spot, because if you don't want the outer edge around it that we're going to put on to make this a bigger design, which I'll show you, you may just want to do the 4x4. And then here's where the outer edge comes in. And again, you're going to need your colored pieces. You're going to need 1 blue one here to extend that, and 1 here to extend that. And I say blue, but it's whatever your initial color is. And we're going to extend this one down here, and we're going to extend this one over here. And now we're going to come in, and like I said, you can either do the background color, which was in the first video, the first block that you saw when you tuned in, or I'm going to bring in this dark blue and go around, and this is going to be my little border, if you will, that's going to set my block apart. This is part of the original block. This is part of the loop block. It was printed this way in the book. Yeah, it came out of a book, but it's not a book of anything that is copyrighted. It is a book of just general designs that are out there, and they don't even show you how to make them. They just have a book of different blocks. There's, I don't know, some 25,000 different blocks in this book. All right, almost done here. And there you have it. You have your blue ribbon going across here, the pink one coming across here. Now, if you wanted to take this block and make it a whole complete circle, you would need 4 copies of this block and to go around, and you would be making a whole circle. And I'll show you that in a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and get this stitch together, and we're going to gather it just like we did in the first video. Hope you all remember how to do that. It was the spider web method that I showed you. So we're going to start over here with column 1, and we're going to stack them up on top of each other, keeping hold of the top of the stack. Then we're going to bring in our number 1. Put the number 1 at the top. See, there it is. Number 1. And I'm just going to clip them together, making sure I'm getting them all. All right, and then we're going to do number 2. Again, keeping them at the top so we know which one it is. With these blocks that are square, it doesn't really matter, but when we get to the half square triangle, it will matter. This was my top. Bring number 2 in. See, there's my number 2. And we're going to clip these together. All right. All right, row 3. Now this is where it's going to be important to keep the top up, because this is a half square triangle and we need it turned in the correct direction. So this was my top. In comes my number 3. And we're going to clip those together. Number 4. And again, this one's crucial to keep it turned the correct way, because this one had the other half square triangle in it. Getting my number 4 out here. Clipping these together. This one's not so crucial because it's all squares. There's no big deal here. This is going to be row 5. I'm hoping you remember how to do the webbing, because it'll make this block go really fast. And then the last one is number 6. Just got to make sure you keep those colored ones in the right places. Number 6. All right, now I'm going to take these over to the sewing machine, and we're going to start sewing them together. Okay, so here we are at the sewing machine when we're going to start webbing these together. I have number 1, and I also have number 2. And this is how I'm going to lay them down. Number 2 is in my right hand. Number 1 is in my left hand. Take off the clips, take off the numbers. We're going to take the first 2, right sides together. Number 2 should be on top. And we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam. And we're going to chain piece these together. Okay, second one. And then the second one. It's a black. Okay, so we're going to put the black on top of the blue. So it's basically a background square on top of a ribbon square. And here we go. Okay, the next 2. Right sides together, 1 on the bottom, 2 on the top. Remember to keep that 1/4 inch seam as good as you can. All right. Almost here on the first 2. I know it's a little quiet. I'm really not saying anything right now. This is just some basic sewing. All right, last one. Okay, needle up. Cut my threads. And remember, leave these together. Don't cut these apart. And we're going to start back up here with number 1 and 2. We're going to open them. Okay, and then after we open them, we're going to bring in number 3. All right, and we're going to unpin 3. And we're going to put 3 over here. And we're going to do right sides together with number 2 on the bottom this time, number 3 on top. And we're just going to chain piece these the whole way down, just like we did the first 2. And then we're going to add columns 4, 5, and 6. So go ahead, I want you to stop the video now. Go pick your colors, cut your squares. You can always go back and review the video. And then go ahead and come over and start sewing. You can get this all done, and we'll be back and show you the final product. So go ahead and pause the video. Okay, I wanted to bring you back in as I'm getting ready to add the last column. This is number 6. And we're going to add it on. But I also wanted to tell you, you don't have to web this together like I do. That's certainly not a requirement of this project. It's not a requirement of any of the projects. They can all be done just as easily. If you just want to join the rows together and then join the columns together like you always do. There's no requirement to this. But it is something I've found that's much easier, so I want to certainly pass that information along to you as you're sewing and progressing in your sewing skills. But here I am adding this last column on, which is mainly just all border around the right side. You can see that I have all the rest here. They're all still connected. When I'm doing a square block like this, I just find it easier to keep them connected That way I don't have to worry about them getting out of alignment. And not only that, it saves me a little bit of thread, not that I'm worried a whole lot about using up thread, but it saves me a little bit because I'm not always cutting thread. It saves me a little bit of time because I'm not always cutting those threads. We just put them under there and keep chain piecing. I'm a huge fan of chain piecing. I love to do it when the need calls for it. However, it could become quite mindless if that's not something that you want to get done. But for me, when I want to get it done in a hurry, chain piecing is the best way for me to do that. But sometimes I get a little bored with my projects and want to get one done before I start the next one. So that's how I get it done a little faster. I go ahead and chain piece it. Almost done. I just wanted to bring you back in to make sure you saw the webbing and learned how and remembered how to turn it without necessarily going back to the previous video. Okay, so here we are, the last one. Needle up. Yeah, I'm sewing in a rather old Bernina. It's a 440. But it does the trick. It just doesn't have all the fun stuff that some of the newer machines have. All right, here we are. And we are sideways. I did that intentionally. So take the bottom and fold it over onto the top. And remember, when you're sewing down, you should nest your seams. Because it's the first row and you can't see the bottom, I usually push the bottom seam allowance down the way it's going to fit into the machine, and that way I can see the top, and it's going to go the way it might fold back over and get caught. I want to make sure I have control over that. So that's how I do my first row. Now every row won't be like that, but that's how I do the first one. That way I don't have to worry too much about that first one, because once you get to the next one, you can see what the rows are doing. So we'll do this one and then I'll show you. And if you're new to my videos, thank you for stopping by and viewing what we're doing. I hope that you have some fabric that you could spare and join the sew along and maybe learn something new. And if not, just stop along, sew with us, and have a good time. You know, we can't get out much right now, so, you know, this is a little bit of what we can do together. I know I can't see you and talk to you like we could like in a Zoom meeting, but we're still sharing them together. If you want to send me photos of your completed work, I would like to be able to put those up so that others can see. We can attach them either to the next video, or we can put them on the website at pinehollowquilts.com. But I'd love to see what you're working on. I'd love to hear the comments. See the comments, I guess. We can't hear anything because you guys have to type them to me. All right. First row done. See, we have these two together now. Then you're just going to flip them over. Okay, somebody's being ornery here today. Flip them over. And I'm going to start sewing back here. But because we have this seam here, we can see that these went down. So if it went down on this side, it's going to go down on this side. And then over here, we will be flipping these up. So just make sure as they go through your feed dog that they're going up. That's something that you'll have to look for. So go ahead and finish up your square and we'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. We're back. The block is nicely pressed. All of my seams all of my threads have been cut. And this is the block. Let me see if I can get some better light on it. It's a little further away, but yeah. So this is the block that is going to go in my sampler that has the colored squares around the border. And I will, just to refresh your memory, pull this one back in. And this is the one that has the black around it. Let me see if I can help with the camera here. This one has the black border around it instead of the blue, because I wanted the ribbons to stand out on this one. However, the blue one is going to be the one that goes in my sampler. Now, for the extra projects that I usually try to give you, the secondary project, we're going to take this block, because we're going to use the one without the border, and I'm not going to make them, but I'm going to show you how you make 4 of them to complete a circle. Or if you want a smaller circle, you just do the inside and you don't put this outside border around it. So let me pull those up for you. All right, so this goes this way. Let's see, there we go. One-man cameraman here, so it's a little hard. So this is one that has a different colored border, very similar to what our blue one would be. Let me see if I can turn this other light off, if that helps. But if you want to repeat that one block 4 times, yeah, that helps a little. If you repeat the block that I'm going to put in the sampler that I have the blue around 4 times, you're going to get a blue circle. And then you can put a different color off on each one of them. So my blue and pink square that I just made today is going to be right here. That's the one block we just made today. I'm going to repeat that block and put a different, this is red, I'm going to put a red in instead of a pink. And then I'm going to stitch it again with a yellow with the blue, and then a green with the blue. And the way to get each of these is, this block actually rotates a 1/4 of a turn. I believe I figured out, yeah, a 1/4 of a turn counterclockwise, and it just keeps going. It's the same block. All you have to do is swap out your secondary color. And if you wanted to make this even a bigger quilt, then you just keep building around it with your colors. We have the 2 pink ones down here. Then we would add a pink down here with a secondary color, and a pink down on this side with another secondary color. This is what it would look like if you have used the one with the border. Now, if you wanted to use the one that doesn't have the border, my goodness, how well did I tape this? Yeah, I taped it just so it'd be easy to take apart, but I guess not. Just so you could get an idea, if you made your little border the same color, like in the black one, your little border is the same color and you won't know that it's a different color. But you still wanted the little border around it. This is going to be fantastic to give you lots of quilting space. The center in between from here to here. I know when my paper looks like it's only 6 inches, because on my paper it is only 6 inches, but the way I do this is 2-to-1 ratio. So every 1-inch block on my graph paper is actually 2 inches. That's going to be annoying. I guess next time I'm going to have to come up with a plan B to do this better. But I wanted a way to show you how it's going to look with and without the little border sections. So there you can start to see you've got this section without the border pieces on it. And if this was all background, this would be a nice big 12-inch area to do some quilting. Or you've got it over here that has the little borders in it. Not so much quilting, but you know, it may be what you want. And this is for the big block. This is for the block that we have finished. That's going to go in our sampler. This is finishing, it's finishing at 12 in the sampler. It's 12.5 right here. However, if you wanted to make yet one more change, and I mentioned this earlier, you could go ahead and just do the center of that and leave that border completely off of it and just do 4x4, which will make it 8. And you have much smaller circles. This across in the center of this one is only going to be 8 inches finish as opposed to 12 inches on that one. You can have smaller circles and a bigger variety, less quilting space. And all you did was you just left off that last outer row of that last row of or the last round of 16 blocks that you put around. So all you're doing is that initial center. And this is the start of what I had on this. This would be my original blue one with my original pink. And I finished out the blue. I added a green, a darker blue, and an orange. I finished out my pink. I put in a black, a purple, and a yellow. And then I finished a green over here. And then the orange up there and the darker blue over there. This, let's see how big this would finish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 times 2 is 32. So if you wanted to do this 5-ring piece, this would be 32 by 32. That would be a cute little wall hanging where, like I said, you could do some funny quilting in there, or, you know, whatever you feel like doing. Or this could be made into a really big pillow, you know, whatever you feel like. But this is the smaller version, just using the center. This is the bigger version, using the whole block that we just made with the border strips and without. And I'm going to pull mine back in for one last look. Here we go. One last look at it. So this one, if we just take it off of there, and I'll kind of cover these up, that centerpiece right there is going to be one block. And that's what you're going to get if you do the 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 by 4 will give you an 8-inch finished, and that's what's going to use to make that into a bigger quilt. I hope you've enjoyed our March sampler sew along of the loop block, and subscribe below. Tune into our Facebook page. These aren't on our Facebook page. However, you can get notifications that they're ready for YouTube. And head on over to our website, sign up for the newsletter. And the newsletter will be going out momentarily to let all of the subscribers know that the video is up for them to see. So if you want to be the first to find the videos for the new month, subscribe below to YouTube or go over to the website and get on the newsletter link there. Until next month, thank you.